My name's Craig Dean. I'm the Chief Executive of Web Applications Group of companies. Well, I entered the workforce straight from Cambridge University back in 1997. I went to work for a company called Cambridge Consultants, which was part of Arthur D. Little's, which became Accenture. I started working on the DEC stacks with Alcatel and Nokia, and they quickly grew into the Bluetooth stack. My division was spun off to form Cambridge Silicon Radios, who now make every Bluetooth stack and every mobile phone in the world. I was kind of bored of telcos by then. Decided that I wanted to branch off and form my own business. So by the time I was about 22, 23, I went into my own business, formed my own management consultancy. Did very well and landed in a consulting gig in up in Airby in Skipton, where I was commuting from Cambridge every week, for a company called Welcome Holidays, which was in the process of migrating its software systems from an Oracle platform to SQL. I helped in that, and that was back in 2000, right before Gordon Brown changed all the rules about consultants, and like a lot of IT professionals, I decided 80% of my money was going in tax and I wanted to do something else. So I packed it all in, handed in my notice, walked off that and went into tour the world with the African Children's Choir for 2 years. Where I went to 48 states out of the 50, all over the UK, all over the US. Before after touring with them for quite a few years, I went back to Uganda, where I settled in Uganda, worked with underprivileged children there, taught IT and mathematics to primary school and secondary school kids, and went over to Rwanda, where I worked in an orphanage for the genocide victims from Rwanda, and helped build the orphanage there, put in some football pitches and stuff like that. That took me to about 2004, where I got poisoned. I had to come back to the UK. Spent about a year then going back to the States, talking to friends and settling and recovering, because I was very sick. I was at the end of my 20s. And I got a phone call in 2005 from the person, the managing director of what was Welcome, which now was part of the RCI group, and he'd moved on and he was working in quite a different. And he'd come across a little software company that he was quite interested in, and he asked me to go. He knew that I was back in the UK and that my adventures abroad had all petered out due to ill health. And he asked me to go in and have a look and give him a bit more, give him some idea of what he was investing in, because he decided to buy into this company. That was Web Applications. I went in. I think at the time there was 5 people there, and I did what every good consultant would do and said what they needed most was me. So he asked me to come on board, but they couldn't actually quite afford me. So I went in on a 4-day-a-week. Just going in 4 days a week to offer advice and consulting, but I never do 4 days a week. It's not me. I'm a 7-day-a-week kind of person. So they paid me for 4 days a week, but 3 of those days were just voluntary interest really. I think within probably about 6 months to 8 months, I was the managing director there. And that was the end of 2005. I joined them. Today we employ over 90 people. And I'm the chief exec. I think I was the 7th person there when I joined. So in the 6 years now I've been there, 6-7 years, the company's grown by about a factor of 12. I think it's helpful if knowing a little bit about my background and why I ended up where I ended up, because it says a lot about what motivates me as a person. I'm in business because it interests me. I'm not in business to make massive profits or to become a multimillionaire. Those things have no desire. They have no pull on me. You can't really take money to the grave with you. It's not something that hugely motivates me. I'm in business because I get challenged and it's interesting. I like to do things a bit differently. And Web Applications is a real embodiment of that. It's our experiment. It's how do we do things different from everybody else? How do we do it better? And the main role of what we try and do as a business is really give the best possible solutions at the best possible price. And the kind of solutions that we're confident can't be competed against. The kind of I always joke that I'm probably a very bad interview for this particular role, because I don't really care too much about competition. It's not if you're copying what we're doing today, then it's already too late. I was doing that 3 years ago. By the time you've seen it, that's 3 years old for us. We're working on the stuff that's coming 2 to 3 years from now. So we're far more obsessed by innovation than we are about competition, and that's stood us in good stead. We increasingly take bigger and bigger customers that look at the size of company we are. Many of them came on board when we were 10, 15 people, and considered it a great risk to work with a company of our size, because these were companies turning over 250, 300 million pounds, and they were getting their systems provided by a company at the time turning over £500,000. But the reason they came to us is because we demonstrated an ability to deliver and a commitment to deliver. And it's something that really, goes right through everything we do now. That first and foremost, it's about delivery. It's about making certain we don't commit to things we don't know we can deliver. Which means we have very frank and honest conversations with our customers, and we have those kind of conversations that say, this may be what you want, but this is what is possible, and this is how we can get there. So we don't sell them systems that we can't deliver. I think our industry has a very bad name in terms of technology, in that it's over-promised and under-delivered often, whereas actually we've built a reputation for doing the exact opposite. We tend to under-promise and over-deliver, and what I mean by that is we often put things into our systems that our customers don't ask for and don't realise they're there until all of a sudden they realise they need them, and they find that actually we've already put it in. It's quite common, certainly in terms of performance and longevity. So even though our systems have been in some of our customers for 5, 6, 7 years now, they're still finding that actually they're still market leading, and they're still managing to compete and outcompete on those systems, because we were anticipating what was going to be needed rather than just waiting for the customers to realise that's what was needed. And that's still true today in the systems we're developing now. In terms of current trends and futurologies, obviously I'm obsessed about the future and what's coming. So for me, obviously the biggest things over the highlight is the dawn of quantum computing that's coming upon in the next 5 to 10 years, and the impact that's going to have on the industry. Okay, that's probably way too far off for most of our travel customers. More interesting, of course, is the stuff that to me is pretty much old hat now, which is the concept of the decline of the desktop, the decline of the wired connection. We're going more and more wirelessly, more and more tablet-based, more and more small form factor. And even though for a lot of us the concept of trying to work on a tablet is these are entertainment devices, we have to understand that one of my greatest sources of inspiration is looking at what young people are doing. Because young people are the next generation of employees, the next generation of people coming into the market. And I spend a lot of time, I'm a governor, chair of governors of one school, governor of another school, governor of a college. So I spend a lot of time interacting with young people. And they are increasingly second screen people. They're constantly looking at, whilst they're watching TV, they've got a mobile, they've got an iPad, or they've got, at most, they've got a smart book or a netbook. But the concept of sitting at a desk and working on a computer is just not something that they're familiar with. So one of the things we've been saying as an industry for a long time, but it's still incredibly slow to build up to any kind of head of steam, is this concept that actually people are not just looking at their devices as a shop window anymore. They're looking at it as the whole store. And what I mean by that is, it's not good enough just to be advertising your wares on an iPad or an iPhone. Okay? You have to be able to make the sale. Okay? You have to be able to complete the sale at that point. Now, I remember when we first entered a lot of our customers, they were largely 80% telephone sales and about 20% web. And we kept saying to them, within a year or two, you will be exactly the opposite. You'll be 80% web, 20% telesales, or over telephone. And that was considered an anathema, but it's true. All of our customers in general have moved to approximately 20% telephone sales and 80% web. But actually that's going to change now. What we're going to see is not just these rich web experiences, we're going to see an increase of actually sales made over mobile phones, even for high value items like holiday. Because confidence is building in the young generation. You're not seeing it at the moment in the middle-aged, elder generation who still are nervous about the concept of a credit card going over a mobile phone. But let's be quite clear, the concept of a credit card is dated. With things like near-field communication, your phone is becoming your payment, is becoming your credit card. Those technologies are here now, and they're already starting to roll out across the world. Within 5 to 10 years, the idea of having a credit card will be an anathema. Okay, so the idea that you won't trust your mobile phone to make a payment when that is your credit card is going to disappear. So we need to, as an industry, be preparing for the concept that yes, actually, not only will we be buying cheap products on a phone, we will be buying expensive products on a phone. That can be seen from people buying stuff off Amazon off their phone, or doing their Tesco grocery shop from their phones already. This is already happening. And I think the travel industry is sometimes quite antagonistic to that concept. Who's going to buy it off a phone? We can't put enough detail on that, but that's going to change. I think there's two big challenges. I think the first one is about the way we make sales online. Okay, it's not good enough just to stick a few pictures online anymore. There has to be two elements to that. One is there has to be more social interaction. Social networking and social graphs are not just a buzzword, they're actually part of the next generation in terms of the way they communicate and identify themselves. You're far more likely to identify with friends you have online than you have in real life now. If you're a 16-year-old or a 14-year-old. Now that's the next generation of consumers. Right? So we need to understand the social graphs and be tying into that. But secondly, it's the media that we use to interact with them. It's not good enough just to put a few text descriptions of this is what it looks like. They want to see reviews. They want to see their friends saying this is great. They want to see video clips of the place they're going to and somebody talking about that video clip. It's gone are the days where you need to get a camcorder, plug it in and tie it in. You've got your iPhone and you're just taking a video and you're talking over it, and you can edit it online and post it without ever leaving your mobile phone. You don't need to go to a computer anymore. And younger generation now are increasingly doing this and posting clips to YouTube. YouTube has billions of hours of footage on there already. You know, and that's something that's very poorly tapped into by the travel industry. People talk about it a lot, but name any really good sites out there that are going out there and you can see video clips that have actually been hugely successful. It's still not taken off yet. It's starting to, and people are looking at this, but that's probably the next big challenge. And I think a lot of our customers are not yet ready or savvy enough on the content that they need to generate. Actually, they're going to have to be much better curators of content, because that's going to be the differentiator. You know, there's often we have 3 or 4 people selling the same room in the same hotel. If you want to be the one making the sale, you're the one that has to persuade the person through their device that they want to buy it. Okay, and that's about the content and the way you curate it, not just the price. The price is only one element of it. When we look at a human being, we measure the value of a human being. We measure them based on the impact they have with other people. You know, their ethics, their morality, the things that they do. These are things we admire in other people. Yet when we look at a business, we look at a business and say, how much profit does it make? Okay, how does it manage to screw its suppliers into the ground? Does it manage to get the most money out of its customers? Okay, those if we measure, that's the equivalent of us saying, does a man bleed when you cut him? Okay, profit's a lifeblood. It's not actually a measure. Okay, now don't get me wrong, we're an incredibly profitable company, but that's not what I want to be measured by. And I'm proud of the fact that actually we have a huge impact in our local community, massive impact. We deliver courses into schools, into primary schools and secondary schools. We engage hugely with young people, doing a lot of work around that. We sponsor a lot of events and charities and work with young people in particular. We sponsor things like hackathons and stuff in Manchester. And we've put a lot of time and effort into making sure we have an impact in our local community, because that to me is the measure of a business, not whether or not you're managing to screw your customers, not whether or not you're managing to make the most profit for your shareholders. Okay, those don't actually interest me. I don't think they are good measures of businesses. So I'm proud that we've actually managed to make a very successful business without compromising on ethics, without compromising on morality and what we do. Yesterday I discovered that I've won North West Entrepreneur of the Year for the British Chamber of Commerce. I'm a finalist for the British Entrepreneur of the Year now. We've also been shortlisted for the Travolution Award, the Rising Star Award this year, I believe, and I've also been shortlisted for the Manchester Evening News Business of the Year, which is also a great thing. For a company that turns over less than 10 million, that's a real achievement for us. And I think ultimately though, if you ask me what I am personally most proud of, it's that we employ 90 great staff that have a job that's secure through a really difficult time, and we've never actually in the last 3 years had less than 5 vacancies as a business. We've never stopped recruiting. We actually perform over 200 interviews a year looking for staff. We go into all the universities. I often give guest lectures at the universities for like Salford, Manchester, go around doing the tours and talking to them and encouraging young people to apply for jobs and careers in IT. The #1 golden rule is surround yourself with people that know more than you do. I mean, Newton himself said, Sir Isaac Newton said that if I see further, it's because I stand on the shoulders of giants. Okay? I genuinely believe that if you want to be good in IT, you have to surround yourself with people who know more than you. And you have to make sure you're working with people that know more than you. I joined Web Applications because it's one of the few times I found somebody that actually challenged me as a developer, which means we've got two great people at our company already. So it made it easier for us to attract more people because people want to come and work with us and learn from us. And by bringing in these great people, that allows me to learn more by learning from them. And I think that's really important because, you know, Einstein said that the more he knows, the more he realizes he's yet to learn. And I think that's something that in the IT industry holds so true to us, that actually the most exciting thing about our industry is realizing how much there's still to learn, how much there's still to do. And so if I'm starting out in industry, I give the same advice to anybody else starting out in industry, which is to find people that know something you don't and go work with them. Be disruptive. I'd say that's the thing that has to be there, that embrace change. And I think it's more than just be embracing change, because I think it's something people throw out a lot. We talk about it a lot as a business ourselves. And it's not just about embracing change, it's about driving change. It's about actually being a positive force for change. So in our own business, we very carefully say, you know, we need to change things. We need to go out and not get comfortable. And I think that it's very easy to sit back as a successful business and say, everything's going great. And to be honest, for my entire tenure at Web Apps, everything's been going great. And it's been very easy throughout the whole time to keep saying, well, now that it's good, let's not mess with anything. Whereas actually my natural instincts always do the exact opposite. Say, everything's going great, so let's mess with something. Let's change it. And that's made us very successful. You know, the size of the rate of growth and the rate of change in our business, that's been driven by that desire to constantly change things and push things forward. And I say that's the entire industry. If there's one thing that I do, it's make sure you change something today. Go in and make sure that you leave the business different by the end of the day than the way you found it. Well, I've spent a lot of time traveling the world, okay? So you might not be surprised to hear that, like a lot of people have spent a lot of time in airplanes and traveling all the world. My favorite destination is probably my bed at home. I actually genuinely love it there. I think we've got a beautiful country and a beautiful part of the world. But if you're going to ask me outside of, if you have to pin me down somewhere outside the UK, I love Colorado, which is where Web Apps US is based, and I love Africa. I've got a real heart for Africa, a beautiful place, and I love Singapore. Ironically, I think it's a beautiful town, a beautiful city on an island. But all of them have got their own unique reason for why they're beautiful and different and unique. But ultimately, there's very few places in the world where there's as much diversity of culture and climate as there is the UK. It's such a beautiful little island, and there's very few places that's green. I think that's the thing you notice when you first come back. It's a beautiful green line. I'm not so sure about London, you know, down here, guys, but you come up to the Lake District once in a while, and you'll see some really beautiful sights.